All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to fill in some gaps if you have hardwood floors. What I'm working with here is Minwax stainable wood filler. You'll need a putty knife, some painter's tape, and that's about it. So what I did here is just put some tape around the area that I'm trying to fill as far as the crack goes. I just slathered on that wood filler right over top, kind of smoothed it out with the putty knife, and then I'm just gonna peel this off and check out how clean this line is. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it'll do the trick. Did another area over here. So what I'm gonna do is let this dry for about 4 hours, and then I'm gonna sand it, just that area there, and then I'm gonna apply a stain over top and then polyurethane it, and that should seal it up. Peace. Okay guys, so if you haven't watched the first video I posted earlier today on my timeline, I would do so because that first step was me filling in gaps on my hardwood floors, and I showed you the process of how to do that. This video is the second step, where I'm actually going to be staining that area that I filled in. And then after I do that, there's going to be one final step where I clear coat it just to protect it. So for this step, I'm going to show you the stuff that you'll need and how to do it. So what you're going to need to get is a staining brush, some sandpaper. 150 grit is a little coarse for what we're trying to do here, but this is actually all they had at the store, so I can make this work. Just a cloth to wipe the sanding dust away, and then this stain, which is the wood finish penetrating stain by Minwax, just like before, and this is the Early American. All right, so first off, what you want to do here is sand that area very thoroughly where you're planning on staining. There's a couple different ways to do this, but you could actually wet sand, where you actually dip the sandpaper into the stain, or you can just do it this way. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to do it the least messy way. All right, so that's good enough there. Okay, so you're going to need something to open up your can of stain. I'm pretty ghetto with it, so I'm just using the end of a plastic fork here. Just give it a quick stir. Set that down. All right, let's see here. Okay. Let me wipe this off here real quick. Okay, that'll work. Really only need to dip the corner in, and then just do a nice thick coat there, because it is going to accept the stain differently than the wood in the surrounding areas would. Okay, just do a quick coat like that. Go back over here, kind of blend it. Okay, let that sit. Set that down. And then what you want to do is wipe the excess away. As soon as you apply it, wipe the excess away, and then we're actually going to do this again to add some more darkness to it. So repeat the sandpaper step. Okay, don't forget to wipe. Okay, dab that in there again. And then let's go over this again. This time I'm actually going to let this stain sit. I'm probably going to let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. That's going to vary a bit depending on like temperature and how heavy it was applied, things like that. So the longer you let it sit before wiping the excess away, the deeper it's going to kind of penetrate and color it. And that's what we're looking for. So I'll give this a few minutes to dry, and then I'll wipe the excess away. And then it's going to be a little bit darker here. And then I'll actually show you how to finish it up by polyurethaning it. And that's going to be the third video. What's up, guys? So I'm back with the third and final step of this hardwood floor repair project that I got going on here. I posted 2 videos before this that kind of give the step-by-step run through on it. So watch those just so you're caught up. All right, so as you can see, I retaped the floor just to make applying the polyurethane a little easier. This isn't necessary, but without tape, what could happen is you'll have a sheen inconsistency, where you're going to have some dull areas and some shiny areas. So it just kind of secludes it to just the crack that I'm trying to repair if you put some tape there. So I did some side-by-side comparisons just to see both ways. So obviously this is the strip or crack, I should say, that's taped. And there's one right here that is not. All right, so for this step, what you're going to need is your sandpaper, just like before, painter's tape, and this time instead of a brush, I would use a foam brush. With these polyurethanes, you get a little more control that way. My handy dandy ghetto plastic fork to stir. And then the, once again, Minwax product. It's the fast drying polyurethane in the semi-gloss. Sometimes with polyurethanes, if they've already been opened like this one was, they kind of start drying and makes the lid really hard to get off. So I would recommend using a screwdriver, because plastic fork is not going to do it here. All right, so give it a good stir. Set this over here. All right, now I actually already sanded this, so it doesn't need sanded before applying this. I can just go right on ahead and apply my first coat here. You will need about 3 coats since we're dealing with a hardwood floor. Generally, you can get away with 2 if it were anything else, but that extra coat is just going to make it more durable. All right, so dip that in there. You don't have to dip the whole applicator. And then what we're going to do is just brush that on. Obviously, in the video, it's going to look like I'm not doing anything because it's clear, but I assure you that I am. Okay, we'll do a little heavier coat here. Just make sure you're doing a nice even coat. And then for the area that I didn't tape, I'll do that as well. This one, you just gotta kinda finesse it into the crack there. I probably should have taped that, but that's okay. Okay. So you do need 3 coats, but I'm not gonna show the video of me applying the 3 coats because there is going to be a dry time of about 4 to 6 hours in between coats with a light sanding in between. But yeah, you get the gist of it. I'll show you the finished product when I'm done. All right, guys, so here's the final product. As you can see, where I repaired was right here, that long gap that ran across the board, as well as right here. I think it looks pretty good. It blends in pretty nicely, especially from a distance. It's not perfect because that stainable wood filler isn't a porous product like the wood itself is, so the stain isn't going to penetrate exactly to match the wood, but it does a pretty good job doing so. Let me tell you, without filling in these gaps, it hurts like hell getting your feet pinched. So let me just throw that out there. These ones weren't too bad, but I have some worse ones. One that I really need to do, I'll just give you guys a sneak peek here, would be this bad boy. Like, that's pretty deep. So that's gonna be a chore, but I don't mind doing this. It's fun to me, so bring it on.